Hey everyone, this is Shepard with another episode of Ask Shepard, episode 5. To answer the question that, again, I thought I would have been able to answer for the last episode. Again, sorry for not releasing more recently. Truth be told, I'm actually exercising. I'm trying to get in shape for a 5K, as well as for a brutal mud-filled obstacle course. I only have about a month to do it, so the time I've not been spending making videos has been spent running for several miles. So I don't know, let that be a motivation to all of you. I don't know, steadily approaching middle-aged gamer, and I can still do it, and so can you. Anyways, let's get to the questions. Okay, first question that I have here is from Crazy and Mega. He asks, how much powerful are the leaping attacks compared to the standard attacks? Also, which weapon appears to have the strongest leap attack and which one has the weakest? Well, I can say that leap attacks are kind of like a separate type of attack that you get than your normal on ground. So there's definitely a different type of damage multiplier. By and large, it definitely seems like it's one of the more, if not most, powerful option that the weapon has. Case in point, you know, hammer seems to do a ton of damage, and with the sword and shield, there's kind of like the forward rushing attack. When you use that, you'll do this interesting spin attack off of a cliff, and that almost definitely does a ton of damage as well. As for which one does the strongest leap attack and which one is the weakest, I'm not 100% qualified to answer it, only because I haven't used all of the weapons equally yet. For all I know, there's some really interesting things you can do with a gun lance or switch axe or something like that. I just haven't used it. And what I've seen so far, though, I would say probably a hammer that has been charged up for a great pound, or a super pound that is, that actually does result in a different sort of attack, jumping off the side. The nicest thing about that is right after you've done the super pound, you can kind of combo it directly into a golf swing. So that definitely seems like the most powerful. As for the weakest, I would imagine the light bowgun. If not the light bowgun, probably the bow itself. I'm sure neither of those do all that much damage. They just do damage to cause the flinch to happen. Scary Greyform asks, what weapon do you enjoy the most? Personally, I enjoy using the longsword, but I very much enjoy watching your use of the insect glaive and charge sword. I think it's charge blade, but I mean charge sword is just as well. His most recent game is Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, so he doesn't get to use them. That's a good question, and it almost kind of ties directly back into the previous one that Crazy Yan Mega asked, which is, you know, it's a classic, and it's a little odd to say, but I'd say either the hammer or the greatsword. You know, from the very beginning, they're the sort of weapons that you know if you get good with them, you can take on just about anything. I enjoy the hammer the most if I'm having a hard time on a monster, because it just makes just about everything super easy. But 2014 for me has been the year of the greatsword. I'm still trying to get better with it, and it's really fun to me when I finally figured some sort of a timing out and be able to land a greatsword charge when I almost never thought I'd be able to before. So, best part about Monster Hunter, and something that will tie into a question later on, is, you know, learning and kind of forcing yourself to use new weapons. Having a good variety of weapons keeps the game fresh, keeps it interesting. By the time you think you've mastered your new most favorite weapon, go back to the one you think you're the worst at, and it's like a whole new game again. Z Duker asks, what's your totem monster and why? Curious to find my own. That's like so zen. I love that. If I could pick one monster as my totem monster, it would be Espinos from Monster Hunter Frontier. There's basically nothing about the Espinos that you would not want to have as an attribute of yourself. He's handsome, he's powerful, he's well loved, and he sleeps on a regular basis, and in some incarnations is actually more powerful because of it. Good luck on fighting your totem monster. Jeffillian asks about his Monster Hunter meetups. He was wondering, what tips and suggestions do you have for hosting in real-life parties? When hunting, do you have a list of monsters that you've prepared to keep an organized schedule? Thanks a lot. Well, I think if you're in college, you're already kind of really ahead of the game. The best part about being an undergraduate, or I guess graduate, sometimes, is you're living on campus, and generally each campus will have a student union, or at the very least places that are easy enough for people to meet up. And the hardest thing for people outside of college, or graduated from college, or banned from college campuses for one reason or another, is they don't have that as an option. One person that gave me some really great advice was actually Yuri from Capcom Unity. He's actually the one of the community representatives for Capcom. He suggested a meet up in a mall. Truth be told, it's been over a year now that we've been meeting up at the mall, and while there's occasionally been some discussions about moving it, just about everybody agrees that that's actually the best place to go. Public, clean, or relatively clean restrooms, plenty of eating choices. People can come and go as they please, tables to sit at, chairs to sit at. If you're really lucky, you've got places for outlets for people to charge their 3DSs. Nobody's going to look at you strange for sitting and hanging out. That's basically what people do at food courts, as opposed to hanging out in a park or a library or anything like that. Probably arouse the least suspicion. The best part is also, if people see you playing, we've actually had our group grow pretty large over time, because people see us playing, they want to know what we're doing, and they'll remember to come back later, or they'll bring a friend or anything else like that. As for hunting, depends how many people are playing Monster Hunter. Truth be told, we're kind of getting a split in the group. There's people that are playing Pokemon, and there's people that are playing Monster Hunter, and there's even people that are drawing now. There's almost always enough groups for people to do everything. I think the hardest thing is when 5 people show up and want to play a game, and you've got a group of 3 and a group of 2, and that's like the worst thing ever. To keep things organized, generally people just go by turns. So we'll go in a kind of a round robin fashion, and if nobody cares, we just keep doing the same thing. I'm kind of a jerk, and I make everybody fight things that I need for my gold crowns because I'm still looking for them. As for an organized schedule, and I guess the most important thing is, unless it's like a really, really bad weather out, especially if you're the person that's hosting it, really try and make sure that you're going to make it. For me, I'm the one that, really try to get those things organized. I want to make sure I'm there every week, because you never know who's going to show up and who's not going to show up. And especially if 2 or 3 people show up and nobody's there, you don't want them to feel discouraged and say, oh, maybe the group's not hunting anymore. So do the best you can to make sure that there's always going to be some sort of contingent. We have an active Skype chat. A lot of things come from that. It's actually a really interesting conversation that I drop in from time to time. So maybe use some form of Skype or Google Chat or something like that to keep in touch outside of the actual hunts as well. Wawa RTK0 asks, and this is a long time ago because he's asking a question from the episode 54 about the PSP. So just to clarify, and I don't really record this way anymore, I've actually upgraded my capture setup, but this is how I used to capture. I used to capture my PSP using a component cable on the HD PVR. And this was only available, I believe, on the PSP 2000. I think it actually was taken away in the PSP 3000, ridiculously enough. I would use the PSP to the HD PVR, and the issue he's having is his screen is not taking up the full screen. I don't know what video editing program you have. All I did was use a crop feature to crop out all of the black bars, and then blow up the aspect ratio, or stretch it out so that it maintained the same aspect ratio within the frame to some small tolerance. And I think occasionally I throw in different filters and stuff like that to kind of sharpen it up a little bit, and then maybe blur it a little bit after that, just to make it look a little bit better. But that you can kind of do by eyeball. There was a screen. There's actually an episode or a YouTube video I posted about this a long time ago. Maybe I'll post a link to it right now. Maybe that'll help you out. Mysterious Stranger 50 asks a long question. I'm not going to read the entire amount, but his question comes down to, what can we do about Monster Hunter in the West? In terms of Monster Hunter podcasts, specifically the Monster Hunter podcast, in terms of really, kind of the Western philosophy towards games versus the, possibly more Eastern, Asian philosophy towards games, specifically Japan. Saying that, Monster Hunter is a series that, if you're to go all the way back to Monster Hunter 1, all the way to Monster Hunter 4, what has really changed? and you can jump now. Of course, there's so many refinements, right? Nothing that could be quite encapsulated, just boiled down to one thing. And does that make Monster Hunter a series that can keep us entertained in it? Well, something I spoke about a little bit in the beginning is, how do you view Monster Hunter? I mean, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, they pick up Monster Hunter and they kind of look at it as just another video game, something that comes out in installments, kind of like Call of Duty or something else like that. I don't know, this may come out as pretentious or something weird like that, but I kind of almost look like Monster Hunter as if it's its own category in and of itself, right? So, you don't have people that sit down, play a game of chess, and then, a year later say, man, chess is so overplayed, when are we going to mix up chess? I mean, this really needs to happen. The reason they say that is because, chess is a very, it's as perfectly balanced a game as you could ever get, right? Well, Monster Hunter, I think we could all agree, is not a perfectly balanced game, but to me it has the same sort of aspect as chess and other games of that caliber, really highly skill-based games, where, there's always some way you can get better. Say you become the best you possibly could at something, right? Say you are the absolute best hammer user in the world, like there's not one hit you use with your hammer that you will not miss a head on. Or can you do that with a sword and shield? Can you do that, with a hunting horn? Can you line up perfect shots with a bowgun? Can you do it with adrenaline on? There's always an extra step you can do to kind of make the game more challenging for yourself. I mean, I think, there are very few people out there that are willing to sign up and say, yeah, man, I use heroics all the time. I don't get hit by anything. No, why? Because, the game is random enough that, once you think you're too good at it, it will find a way to take you down. I do agree with your point, though. 3 Ultimate kind of, is lacking a little bit in G rank, and it may be that until we get 4 here, there's going to need to be a change, and I've actually been thinking about this for a while. In fact, I even kind of considered making a new series about it, should the time arrive. But, it comes down to making the game more challenged. So, what if we were doing G rank quests with only high rank armor? We called it getting high in G rank. Bad drug references aside, and don't do drugs, kids. That's one way you can say, okay, we hit this difficulty curve way too hard. We're able to do pickup games against Double Savage Joe and then just crush them. So now it's time to kind of scale it back a little bit. What's the game like without perfect armor sets? What's the game like with deliberately weaker weapons? That's something you can do, and especially, in a game that's been designed around being able to be beaten easily single player, you kind of need to consider to do things like that. So, Monster Hunter isn't going to tell you what to do necessarily to make the game harder or more challenging, although 4 does offer an alternative with being able to rank up quest stuff to level 100. But it does give you the ability to always say, maybe I won't go the strongest route here. Maybe I won't take the weapon I'm best with. And I think when you try that, I think you'll find that, you have to rely a lot more on those skills that you let get rusty because you're kind of being carried by your equipment or the weapon type that you've gotten so used to. Okay, guys, so that's about it for the questions I can answer tonight. Again, apologize for the sporadic releases. I will, again, try to redouble my efforts to be more regular. At the very least, I can always answer your questions. So, in the future, always make sure to ask me any questions in this thread. This is pretty much the one thread that I'm going to keep going back to for the next episode for when I release it. So, if I did not answer your question this time, go ahead and post it again. I mean, keep posting it until I answer it, right? Yell at me, call me a dirty, filthy egg casual, whatever it takes. Again, this is also the part where I say, hey, if you haven't subscribed or anything or liked or anything like that, please do it here. I haven't really earned it this week because I haven't been releasing videos all week. I think I released 1, but I'll try and continue to do that. All right, so until next time, again, this is Shepard saying good luck and have a good hunt.